Welcome to Lesson 3, Herbal Infusions. As we all know, water is life, and in the realm of herbalism, water... Welcome to Lesson 3, Herbal Infusions. As we all know, water is life, and in the realm of herbalism, water is an important medium for the art of infusion and decoction. Make sure to use filtered or clean spring water for your infusions and decoctions. Infusions are hot and sometimes cold water, poured over herbs and steeped for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Decoctions are infusions made by simmering plants on low heat in water and letting them steep. For decoctions and infusions, I prefer to put these medicines into bone broths or over the dog's meal as a gravy. If your dog will drink these liquids, that's wonderful, and some dogs will, but for the most part, I've found dogs don't really enjoy them straight up. The only supplies you need to make an infusion is, of course, the herb you want to infuse, along with measuring spoons, a quart mason jar with a lid, or if you're using another glass jar, make sure it's made from tempered glass so it won't shatter when you pour boiling water in it. You need 8 ounces of clean water, a mesh strainer, and some natural wax paper and 2 stirring spoons. Infusions bring out the more nourishing parts of plants, preferably the flowers and the leaves. Hot water is good at extracting aromatic oils, enzymes, inulin, minerals, vitamins, and other constituents. You can also make infusions with cold water. Most infusions are done for 20 to 30 minutes, but depending on the herb, you can infuse for several hours or overnight, which makes a very strong infusion. Today, we're making a standard 20 to 30 minute infusion. Let's start by turning the tea kettle on and boiling our water. Now, while you're waiting for the water to boil, place 2 tablespoons of chamomile into the tempered glass mason jar. When your water is just starting to boil, turn it off and let it sit for a minute. Measure out 1 cup of water and pour it in your mason jar. Place your sheet of natural wax paper over the top to protect your infusion from chemicals in the lid. Then seal the lid. All Ball brand canning supplies now put a layer of BPA on their lids, and the natural wax paper will protect your tincture or infusion from contamination. I usually buy my wax paper from natural grocery stores, so I'm not using petroleum-based wax paper. You can also find it online if you can't get it locally. Let your infusion steep for about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the herb. We're using chamomile. Then after your infusion has steeped, strain it through a strainer, and it's ready to use. As you begin to explore infusions, you'll see which herbs work best for how long. If you're making infusions for yourself, you don't really have to take out some of the herbs. When I drink nettles, I just leave them in the water as I use them. If using a nutritive for dogs, you can strain the herbs out and throw them in their food for added nutritional benefit. For herbs like catnip, I only infuse them for 20 minutes because to me, it smells awful and it works just the same as it had been steeped for longer. Cold water infusions are good for herbs that have a lot of mucilage or gooey moisture. Marshmallow root is a perfect example for an herb for a cold infusion. Marshmallow root are high in polysaccharides, and using cool to lukewarm water will extract these constituents more effectively than hot water. Chop your marshmallow as small as you can, like so. Fill your mason jar just a quarter way full. Then pour lukewarm water over the top, leaving about 1 inch at the top. Then add your natural wax paper on the top and seal the cap. Let it steep overnight. The next morning, decant your infusion through a strainer and keep it in the refrigerator until it's ready to use. It will last up to 3 days. It's good to know how to use infusions effectively for dogs. I mixed infusions and decoctions with bone broths before serving or giving them with a meal. This makes it more palatable for dogs. For every infusion or decoction I use, I test a bit with a small amount of their favorite meal to see if they eat it. You might wonder why I haven't mentioned teas yet. Teas are for people. They're steeped just a few minutes for taste and enjoyment. An infusion is like a tea, but steeped for 20 to 30 minutes or overnight. Decoctions are used for barks, berries, roots, and seeds. How infusions and decoctions really differ is in their preparation. Decoctions are made by simmering plant matter in water instead of infusing it. For making a decoction, you'll need a small saucepan to simmer your roots, seeds, and barks. For this example, I'm using chopped dandelion root, 16 ounces of clean cold water, a metal strainer, and a quart mason jar. And don't forget your wax paper. Making a decoction is simple. Take approximately 1 tablespoon of herb per 1 cup of water. Again, we're using chopped dandelion root. Since we're using 2 cups of water, which is 16 ounces, we need 2 tablespoons of chopped root. Remember, fresh herbs are full of water and can dilute your decoction, so I always use 1 tablespoon of fresh root for every 1 cup of water. Remember to cut your herbs or give them a zip in a coffee grinder or food processor. This helps expose the surface area of the herb, which makes for better extraction. Okay, let's get to it. Place 2 tablespoons of dandelion root in a small stainless steel or glass saucepan. Do not use a non-stick surface for this. Pour 2 cups of cold filtered water over the top and slowly bring it to a simmer. Don't let it overheat. Turn down the heat to the lowest setting. Then cover the pan and let it simmer slowly for about 20 to 45 minutes, depending on the herb. With dandelion, you want to do about 30 minutes. Afterward, let it cool to room temperature and then strain the decoction into a mason quart jar. You can add hot water to the jar to provide more liquid or make it more dilute. Refrigerate your decoction, but not for more than 2 days. 2 things to remember about decocting herbs. First, always use cold water. Just putting them into hot water to speed things up can cause the extraction process to be unsuccessful because sudden hot water can keep some constituents from being extracted. The second thing is because barks, berries, roots, and seeds are hardy and strong. It's possible to use them more than once. If you simmer them again and your liquid is strong, then yes, you can use it. This is especially true for barks and seeds. As we've discussed in water infusions, mucilage and other polysaccharides extract best in water and vinegar. Water works well for extracting minerals. As we move through the ailment sections, I'll often recommend using a standard infusion. For the record, a standard infusion uses 2 tablespoons of dried herb in 8 ounces of almost boiling water, steeped and covered for 20 to 30 minutes.